Is Filipino food really meh? It's too bland, too meh, too boring, and too simple and basic compared to other Southeast Asian cuisines. But if I told you that every dish is layered with history, culture, and flavors that most people haven't even begun to appreciate? From ancient food traditions of our ancestors to the influences of foreign cultures, Filipino food tells stories of resilience and adaptability. And today, we'll dive deep into what makes our cuisines so special, yet so misunderstood. So stick around and you might just walk away with a new understanding and a better appreciation for the various flavors and the deep history that makes our diverse Philippine cuisines anything but meh. Mabuhay, or in Kapampangan, luwid kayo. Welcome to my channel. It's me, Kirby Araullo, your friendly Pinoy historian. And today's video is all about Filipino food. Today we'll unpack its history, dive into the unique flavors, and explore the beauty and diversity of Philippine cuisines. Today we'll see that Filipino food is not just about filling a plate. It tells a story of resilience, cultural preservation, and celebration, with every corner of the archipelago bringing unique flavors and traditions. And I've explored quite a lot of our food history on this channel, covering topics like sisig, patis, ube, and even banana ketchup, all with fascinating backstories rooted in our people's history and culture. So make sure to check them out after this video and stay tuned for more. But before we dive into today's topic, just a quick note that the Philippines is incredibly diverse, with over 7,000 islands and countless ethnicities, languages, and indigenous cultures. Each region, like the Kapampangans, Tausug, Cebuano, Ilocano, Maguindanaon, Áytá, and many more, contributes its own distinct flavors and traditions. So today, I'll be using the inclusive term Filipino cuisine for simplicity and clarity, while also uplifting and highlighting specific ethnic cuisines respectfully. And I'll be sharing all of this from my perspective as a Filipino historian and a Kapampangan Tagalog culture bearer. And honestly, there's so much to explore about our food that, not everything will fit in a single YouTube video like this. So if there's anything that I missed or anything that you want to add, from your own cultures and backgrounds, let us know in the comments below. Let us all learn from one another. Now, growing up in Pampanga, with multi-ethnic roots and being surrounded by these amazing culture bearers, I was lucky enough to experience these rich culinary traditions firsthand. But unfortunately, not everyone, whether Filipino or not, has had this experience, this exposure. And so it is understandable that some may not fully realize nor understand the diversity and the richness of our food. I mean, don't get me wrong, I also get offended when people shit on our food. Criticisms are one thing, but let's also be honest, some people just love spreading hate online. But as I've grown older, and hopefully wiser, I've reflected on my own privileges of having access to the richness of our food history and culture. And I've also come to realize the many factors that contribute to these jaded or somewhat limited perceptions. It is important to recognize that, sadly, not everyone has had equal access to the diverse richness of Philippine cuisines. For example, many urban poor communities, especially in big cities like Metro Manila, they might not have the same experiences or access to our traditional dishes regularly, because for them, food is often about survival and affordability, which naturally limits exposure to the broader spectrum of flavors and culinary traditions that our motherland has to offer. And let's face it, the proliferation of fast food chains in the Philippines has also played a role in overshadowing traditional cuisine. While there's nothing inherently wrong with enjoying fast food, I mean, I love fast food myself, but let's face it, the widespread availability and conveniences of westernized meals and commercialized food have made them the go-to option for many, further limiting exposure to our own diverse culinary heritage. And on top of that, our history of colonization, miseducation, and the influence of globalization have all shaped our taste buds and food culture, sometimes making us more critical of our own cuisines. And this internalized preferences for foreign flavors is not entirely our fault, because it is the result of a complex history of colonial miseducation that continues to impact our identity and culinary landscape. We must also face reality that, in rural areas, food security and regional inequalities mean that traditional ingredients and practices are often used out of necessity and not always about luxury. And these local adaptations highlight resilience, but it also shows us how disparities affect what people eat and their exposure to a wider variety of dishes. And while it is easy to dismiss or criticize those who think that Filipino food is meh or bland or basic, it is crucial to approach this topic with empathy. Many Filipinos grow up without access to the full spectrum of our cuisines, and our collective understanding of our food culture has been shaped by various social and economic factors beyond any individual's control. I mean, let's be honest, nobody knows absolutely everything about Filipino food. But everybody knows something, and each and every one of us has something to share. And that is also why I started this channel, 12 years ago, to help educate and bridge these gaps to bring more awareness to our diverse interwoven histories and cultures. Philippine cuisines are much more than just what we see on the surface. More than just the popular dishes like adobo, pancit, lumpia, or even balut. But it is also very important for us, for all of us to understand these critiques with an open mind and not rush into judgments. Now, one of the most common critique about Filipino food is that it's too bland, too meh, too boring, and too simple and basic compared to other Southeast Asian cuisines. But this view often stems from a very limited perspective, focusing mostly on just a handful of mainstream dishes. And that is why it is very crucial for us to dig deeper and look beyond the surface. Filipino cuisine is deeply rooted in our local traditions, each region with distinct flavors, techniques, and ingredients. For example, in Pampanga, you'll find dishes that are incredibly rich and complex, like sisig or biringi, while Maranao cuisine in Mindanao uses unique spices and local ingredients, creating flavors that are difficult to find elsewhere. And we'll be exploring more examples later in the video. And what is exciting about Filipino food lies in its diversity, because the dishes you'll find in Manila won't be the same as those in Cebu, Davao, Ilocos, or Pampanga, because again, each region has its own unique identity and rich culinary heritage. And in many ways, Filipino food offers us comfort, balance, and a deep connection to the land and the oceans. From kinilaw in the Visayas to the Kapampángan kamaru or mole crickets, the dishes we serve showcase creativity in using local ingredients and resources. And many also don't realize that Filipino food culture has a deep social aspect. Our meals are designed to be shared, with family-style dishes bringing people together around the table. Because no matter where you are in the Philippines, at the very core of our culture, food is meant to be a communal experience and a shared expression of hospitality and community. To understand and to truly appreciate the essence of our diverse Filipino food, we must journey back to our indigenous roots. Long before foreign influences, our ancestors crafted meals from what the land and the sea provided, like coconut, rice, ginger, and our countless native herbs. Our ancestors used methods like grilling, boiling, and fermenting, creating dishes meant to be shared, and thus reflecting communal values. Imagine families gathering around, sharing meals made from freshly harvested ingredients, because food was not just about sustenance, but a celebration of Mother Nature, unity, and community. The dishes of our ancestors brought people together, using native ingredients like alamang, spices, and coconut milk to create rich, flavorful meals. This culinary foundation lives on to this very day, showcasing our ancestors' resilience and adaptability. Our indigenous cuisines masterfully uses ingredients like garlic, onions, ginger, and vinegar to beautifully craft savory, sour, and umami flavors. It is far from boring or basic, offering us a harmonious blend of comfort and balance, deeply connected to our motherland and the oceans. But of course, our diverse cuisines did not exist in isolation, because the Philippines had long been at the crossroads of cultures and civilizations. For centuries, for over thousands of years, influences from other parts of Southeast Asia, China, India, the Muslim world, Japan, Spain, and the Americas have all enriched our indigenous Austronesian culinary heritage, adding layers to the diverse flavors we enjoy today. Early Chinese traders, for instance, introduced ingredients like soy sauce and noodles, which evolved into the beloved dishes like pancit and lumpia. The Spaniards, on the other hand, brought tomatoes and potatoes from the Americas, Americas, along with European cooking techniques. And perhaps one of the most fascinating exchanges happened during the Manila-Acapulco galleon trade, which created a unique culinary bridge between the Philippines and Mexico. Mexican ingredients like cacao, corn, and chili peppers became integral to Filipino cuisine, and unknown to many, indigenous Filipino distillation traditions like tuba or vino de coco directly influenced the development of tequila in Mexico. And through the centuries, Filipinos have also shared and spread tropical flavors like mangoes and coconuts to the Americas, leaving a tasty mark on both sides of the Pacific. Our people adapted and infused these diverse influences with local flavors and ingredients, resulting in dishes like our modern-day adobo, afritada, and our own version of the Mexican champurrado, made with cacao mixed with our own glutinous rice. And speaking of adobo, despite the Spanish name, it actually predates Spanish colonization, rooted in our ancestors' use of vinegar as a preservative, and with laurel or bay leaves from the Spaniards and soy sauce from the Chinese. Our people blended these influences into the vinegar-based adobo we know today, a perfect example of Filipino adaptability and culinary creativity. Filipino cuisine is more than just the sum of its parts. Indeed, each influence has been absorbed and transformed, and this constant evolution reflects the resilience and the ingenuity of our culture, constantly adapting yet remaining deeply rooted in tradition. So what makes our dishes anything but simple? Let's break down the flavors and the techniques that give Filipino cuisine its depth and balance. Filipino dishes are all about balance. Whether it's the salty sour kick of sinigang, the savory sweet notes of adobo, or the rich umami of bagoong, these flavors come together to create depth and comfort. Take sinigang for example. This is not just a sour soup, but a symphony of flavors, a balance of tart tamarind, savory broth, and fresh vegetables, with countless traditional variations from sinigang sa miso to bulanglang or guava, reflecting local ingredients. Now let's consider kinilaw in the Visayas, or kilo in Kapampangan, a pre-colonial indigenous dish similar to ceviche, combining fresh meat like fish, vinegar, ginger, and spices in a refreshing and tangy experience. But beyond its taste, kinilaw or kilo connects us to the ancient food preservation methods of our ancestors. And each bite is a testament to the creativity and skill our ancestors used to make ingredients last longer, and thus transforming them into flavorful dishes. This subtle complexity, balancing salty, sour, sweet, and savory, is a defining trait of Philippine cuisines, offering us comfort and depth rather than intense, overpowering flavors. And again, one of the most overlooked aspects of Filipino culture and Philippine cuisine is our unique and beautiful diversity. So let's dive in and explore. Filipino cuisine is anything but a monolith. Each region contributes to a rich symphony of flavors that reflects our motherland's diverse history and culture. Indeed, every dish tells a story of the land, the people, and the resources that shape it. So let's take a look at some mouth-watering examples. In the north, the Ilocanos are known for using bagoong, fermented fish or shrimp paste, along with fresh veggies, giving dishes like pinakbet a distinct umami punch. And among the Kapampangans of central Luzon, you'll find dishes like biringi, a rice dish cooked with coconut milk and turmeric. Another example is tidtad, a Kapampangan blood stew similar to dinuguan, packed with spices for a deep, rich flavor. Known as the culinary capital of the Philippines, Kapampangan cuisine also includes unique indigenous dishes like batute tugak, aka stuffed frogs, buru or fermented rice, and the countless traditional yet lesser-known variations of the world-famous sisig, showcasing our love for innovative, complex, and earthy flavors. Now moving south to Bicol, this region is famous for its spicy, coconut-based dishes, like laing for example, taro leaves simmered in rich coconut milk and spiced with chilies. Another example is kinunot, made with flaked fish or stingray, cooked in coconut milk and flavored with malunggay leaves. These Bicolano dishes add a fiery yet creamy element to the Filipino food palette. In the islands of the Visayas, aside from the refreshingly tangy kinilaw that we talked about earlier, you also find specialties like kansi, a beef soup from Iloilo and Bacolod that brings together the sour notes of sinigang and the richness of bulalo. flavored with a local souring fruit called batuan. And of course, there's the famous inasal, marinated in vinegar and annatto oil, offering a distinct and smoky flavor. In Cebu, they have tuslog buwa, a unique dish where you dip heart-shaped rice into a bubbling savory sauce made from pork brain and liver, perfect for sharing with friends. In the islands of Sulu and Mindanao, dishes reflect both local and Southeast Asian influences. Tausug cuisine, for example, features tiyula itum, a savory black soup flavored with burnt coconut, giving it a rich smoky taste. And pastil, a popular Magindanaoan food, consists of steamed rice topped with shredded chicken and wrapped in banana leaves. And the Maranao specialty, rendang, is a dish shared across Southeast Asia, but with a distinct local twist, featuring beef slowly cooked in coconut milk and spices. So as we can see, Filipino food is not just a single type of cuisine. It's not even a single flavor palette. But it is a diverse blend of specialties and deeper traditions across the archipelago. So what other dishes do you think deserves more recognition? Let us know your favorites in the comments below. You know, food is more than just sustenance. It is a marker of identity. Filipino cuisines captures our people's resilience, adaptability, and pride. And as the late historian Doreen Fernandez once said, Filipino food tells us the story of our people, capturing our collective experiences of both hardship and celebration. Now, one of my favorite and most beautiful aspects of Filipino cuisines is how it brings people together. Just think about the joy and the laughter shared during family gatherings, or when sharing food with friends and even strangers. You know, with each dish telling a story and strengthening our bonds. Indeed, Filipino chefs and food advocates are reclaiming and sharing traditional dishes on the world stage, with dishes like pianggang from Sulu and pinangat from Bicol, and many others gaining recognition, and thus showcasing our deep and diverse cultural roots. And this growing pride has inspired many to uplift traditional recipes, transforming food into a powerful expression of cultural identity. Filipinos worldwide are proudly embracing and showcasing our cuisines, sparking a revival that celebrates our rich food heritage. And this movement is more than just about food. It is about reclaiming and sharing our unique history and cultures. Our diverse Filipino cuisine should not be about conforming to outside standards. It is about being genuine, because our food represents who we are and our connection to our ancestors. You know, from pre-colonial indigenous roots to modern-day innovations, each dish we prepare and share carries the essence of our identity as a people, telling our story one meal at a time. So long story short, our food, our cuisines, it's far from meh. It is incredibly complex, beautifully diverse, and deeply rooted in our people's histories. So, next time you enjoy Filipino food, remember that you are partaking in a tradition deeply rooted and passed down through generations, going back thousands of years. It is a celebration not just of flavors, but of the resilience and the creativity of our diverse people. Embracing our cuisines, it's not just about savoring the flavors. It is about honoring our people who have persevered and adapted our culinary traditions through centuries of struggles and change. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, share this video, and subscribe to my channel to learn more about our people's history, culture, and everything in between. This channel and this video will not be possible without your love and support for the past 12 years. And I'm truly grateful for our growing community. So if you'd like to support my work, my research, and my channel, please consider becoming a patron on Patreon or a member of my YouTube channel. You can also support me by getting copies of any of my books, coloring books, ebooks, and merch, all about celebrating the rich traditions, histories, and cultures of the Philippines and Southeast Asia. Check out the links below to order your copies today. Maraming salamat po. Orin Kapampángan, dakal pong salamat kay Kongan, and in Magindanawan, syukran na benal. See you next time. Tagálog kita kits, and in Kapampangan, Mikitix, and in Binisaya, kita Áytá.